Hey everyone, Sycra here, and today I'm joined by my good friend and illustrator Marius Bota.
Hey guys, and hey Sycra, thanks for having me today.
It's my pleasure. So, what I wanted to do is just go over a little bit about your journey and, how you got into art and what it took to get to where you are now, and then maybe a little bit about where you want to go in the future. So, starting in the beginning, how did you first get into art? When did you do your first drawing? Do you remember?
Yes, I actually remember this pretty clearly. It all happened when I was around 5 years old. Um, I never went to kindergarten by then, until then. And I was in my grandma's, and I have a cousin there, and she went to kindergarten, and my mom asked me, "Hey, you should go with her at the kindergarten." And then I went there, and then they made us draw something, and I did. And I remember how for some reason, I managed to impress the kids and the teacher there. So that was like probably the time when I realized that that's a really nice feeling. Maybe I should do this. So that's pretty much how it started, and then it kind of evolved in from fifth to eighth grade.
Wow, so right when you're 5 years old, you already impress people with your art.
Well, I guess impress is like a big word, but I know they liked it. So I mean, I just liked the reaction of people when they saw what I could do at 5 years old. I don't think it was that big, that big of a deal. I mean, it was a house, drawn in like a 3D, like a cube in 3D, in space. Well, kind of course. It wasn't really that good, but so it was a house and a pencil, and then I put some color on them with color pencil, and that was it. But I don't know, people just liked it, I guess.
Hmm. All right, so then after that, were you always drawing? Or, just all the time? Or was it just something casually that you would do?
It was for the most part casually. Um, I don't really remember being all that much into it, in like from first to fourth grade, but I know it became a huge part of who I was in from fifth to eighth, because I used to like copy Pokemons from small stickers, and to translate them to bigger papers, and all that stuff. And I used to do like the paintings of other people, and for the painting class and all that stuff. So yeah, it kind of evolved, slowly. And then in eighth grade I had to decide, okay, do I want to go forward? And I did. Went into high school, did sculpture, uh, painting, and traditional pencil drawing. I don't know, graphics, I don't know how to call it. uh, and then did a bit of college as well in sculpture, and then I don't know, I guess I quit. It wasn't really for me. I guess I maybe I stepped too much into the time frame, but yeah, that's how it was, pretty much my whole thing.
So, did you attend a specific type of art school, or is this just a normal high school? And
It's just a normal high school, with normal classes, and it was more focused on arts. You have had music and theater and drama and all that. So I went there, and as I said, I did sculpture, painting, and the traditional pencil drawing. Uh, so did that for 4 years, and as I said, I went to college after that, and did sculpture there for 1 year and a half. And after 1 year and a half, I realized that it's not really what I want to do, because they never really let me develop in the area that I wanted. And even though I showed them what I want to do, they just gave me promises, and that was it. So, you know,
do you want to talk a bit about more about that? Like, what kind of promises did they give?
well, so at the end of the first year in college, they asked us, okay, we want to see your personal stuff. your personal things, everything that you do, besides school. And I was really heavily interested into character design at that time, and I had like a lot of sketches with characters, and, on paper, because I wasn't really that interested in digital. I mean, I already had a tablet at that point, but I never really had time. Well, actually, I could have had time, but I don't know what happened. I was lazy. And yeah, so I showed them the drawings, and I said, "Oh, we see where you want to go, and we're gonna let you develop on this path, and from next year." And of course, it didn't really happen. Every time, because like all the subjects that we had to do on sculpture were like, okay, do this, and I was always the only one to ask, can I do anatomy related? I mean, can I interpret this subject in a an anatomical way? Because it was really that's what interests me. Doing abstract art wouldn't really help my cause, and they knew that, but still they did. Even after making the promises, they didn't let me do that. So I went for 6 months with that, and then I decided it's not what I want, and I decided to just leave. I said, this is not good for me. I'm just gonna leave. I'm gonna go home and study on my own because I think it's good. If other people can do it, why can I not do it? So I went home, and that was it. Left a lot of people really disappointed and sad behind. But you have to do what you think is right for you. And
All
that's what I
right.
did.
So, okay, and for people who don't know, you're from Romania, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
West
so
Romania.
so you had this idea of you went to school and you took sculpture and it was mostly abstract and you wanted to do realism, but how did you know, for instance, that people were doing this who were just self-taught? How did you find about out about that stuff?
Hmm. Well, the first contact I had with this was in probably 2006, way before college actually. And I was still in high school, like 2006, maybe 2007, when I got my tablet and I found out about concept art. So there, like out of all people, Marco stood out. Probably because Marco Djurdjevic stood out, probably because of his character at that point. He had the apocalyptic thing going on. I never really got interested in Marvel that much. His Marvel stuff. I didn't really grow with Marvel characters in Romania, so I really liked his post-apocalyptic stuff. And then my when I got the tablet, my cousin also sent me the DVD from him, and I saw that he's self-taught in there, and I was like, that's interesting. So that was the first contact, and then in right before I quit college, when I decided to quit college, I found out about Crimson Daggers, which is founded by Dave Raposa, and that also showed, oh hey, look, this guy doesn't have a degree in art. You don't really need it. If you put the muscle and work in, you can um you can get there. And he wasn't the only one. There were like a lot of other people doing the same thing with him, in the group. So those were like the probably the biggest things that really pushed me to do this. Dave and Marco. So big thanks to them. Like I guess the daggers were probably like 50% of the you know reason why I left college, because I just there was out of the blue a group that actually helped you get better and didn't ask you for money. Like didn't say, oh, you should do this. He said, hey, you should do this, but you remember, it's not this doesn't really it's not really uh, sure that it will work for you. Everyone has his own method. So I really like that. So that really helped me to quit college and move on and just become self-taught from that point.
So, was it scary for you to just leave art school or college in this case and just start, or how was it for you in terms of the transition?
Mm, I don't. He wasn't really scary. I wasn't scared. Uh, because I was so disgusted with college that this really seemed probably I wasn't really thinking wisely as well. But I knew one thing I knew, and that was that you don't need a paper to tell you to give you a job. Papers don't give you jobs. Your skills give you jobs, especially in art. In other fields, okay, if you want to be a doctor, of course you need a degree, but you also of course need to know how to do your stuff. But in art it's all about what you want to do, and the industry has moved on, and it's not, back in the day it was about, oh, do you have a degree? If you had a degree, you had like easier time to get in. But not anymore, apparently. It's all about, hey, can you do the task that I'm assigning, that I will assign to you. That's all it comes down to. So, oh, as I said, I wasn't really scared. My parents were, like my friends were, my teachers were. It was mostly because it's not like, oh, you won't be able to get a job. No, it wasn't that. It was mostly they didn't think that I would be able to stay motivated at home and do the study and to get better. They thought, oh, you're just gonna stay home and not do anything with your life. And I see where they're coming from. I understand that, and it's okay. I wish I had maybe a little bit more support. I didn't really have any support besides the daggers, but it's okay. I'm happy that I managed to do it regardless.
Okay, so how did you motivate yourself then? Because you're right. I mean, you're all alone and you're in a room and no one's telling you, "Hey, you got to start working now. You got to start studying now."
uh, well, this is a an interesting question, because I wasn't always like painting like that. Like I've never been a hard worker, even if after I quit. Like, to be honest, I always have periods, or at least had in the past. Now I pretty much work all the time, but I always had periods when I would work very intense for like a month or two, and then kind of cool off. Like, as in work, as in study, and then cool off and only do jobs and not do anything. So that was like my thing for about 2 years, like at least until the 1 year ago, exactly 1 year ago in October or something like that. It was pretty much October. That was my thing. I would study for a month or two, then cool off and just do jobs and not do anything personal, personal stuff and whatnot. And then again study a bit and so on. So there was this rotation. It was really hard to be actually motivated. It was easy at first because it was the daggers, but then with all the things, you have that big wave of people that come in and they're very excited, but once the main guy disappears because he's busy, I'm referring to Dave, it's normal that it will tone down. And then last year at around this time, in October, he came back, and there was like again this big huge of people coming in again, which for now it seems that it kind of stabilized and they're still doing it. Of course, it toned down during the summer. It seems like, at least that's how I see it, but it is still better. And then when he came back, I found that impulse again, and I found this new information, and I moved from character design to illustration more, and I started developing my portfolio like that. So yeah, it was hard, and it's still hard sometimes, to be motivated and to work from home, and because there's so many distractions, and but you have to do it. Sometimes it's just you can't stop. You just have to, because you have to pay bills, or you need to make money. So
Right.
yeah.
So you've mentioned studying a few times now. What do you mean by when you say, "Well, I was studying"? What were you studying?
Well, I I mostly studied Bamis. He's a guy that does anatomy. So I mostly studied him for anatomy and structure, and then I studied from pictures, like painting from pictures. Um, and that was like for the first 3 years or something, until like maybe until like March or April this year. That was like what I did, and then I noticed that my thought changed on studies a bit after having a discussion with a high school teacher of mine, which we are still friends. He said, it's not, you don't always have to study. I mean, you should take breaks. It's not really good. You need to exercise your, put your mind to work. It's not always, oh, do a study and then apply it. It's a good method, but I feel like you need to get that time, only you and your brain, to put something on the paper without looking at anything. So I started doing that. I took a break, and I haven't studied since then, since April or something like that. um I guess I should feel ashamed about that, but I haven't studied. But what I did, and I guess we talked about the Sycra before. I guess you want to know about this. I don't know. Should I jump into the observation thing,
Oh
or?
yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what I started doing was just observing things, and I found that it's a really good way to learn. Uh, because I know I have a theory that we all know how objects look. We all know how shadows work. We all know everything pretty much. But it's all about becoming conscious of the things around us. It's all about, oh, look at something and see how it works, and make sure it sticks into your mind. And that's what I've been trying to. I mean, what I've been doing for months now. Just whenever I go out, or just sit in a room and don't do anything, I just look at things and see how light reacts and all that stuff. And that's pretty much how I evolved in the past months, uh without studies. And I know for me it really works. Again, it may not work for everyone, but for me it really, I think it worked. And of course, sometimes, I'll open a reference if I really need to, if I don't know how it looks. But again, I'll just observe a bit. I'll close it, and I'll try to make my mind work and make my mind think and figure out, because I feel like that's more important. And in the long run, it really helps you more to have everything in your mind and not rely on pictures that much. It's not bad. A lot of people do it, and it's good. It's just how the way I think this, as I said, this may not work for most of the people, but it works for me. So I just wanted to pretty much share with you guys. And
Yeah,
yeah.
so for people who don't know, a pretty common method for artists who are working, especially illustrators, is to open up reference and to do studies. So, for instance, if you're gonna paint an image and there's a turtle monster, maybe you might do some paintings of turtles to begin with, and get that in your head, and or you'll have pictures open of turtles and whatnot while you're working on your image. So what Marius is what you're saying is that basically you don't do that. You just
Yeah, I stopped. I'm stubborn. I stopped, and I always have discussions with friends and stuff when I don't know something. Every time someone says just use a reference, and I'm like, yeah, well, I'll use it if I just can't get there, but first try to get there, and if I can, I'll open an email, I'll find Google the image, and look at it for a bit and close it, and then go from then on. But it's very rarely that I need to open one. It's again, my stuff is not really super realistic. Uh, I guess it's close to being realistic, but it's not like, oh my god, this is like looks like a photo. No, it's not. It's not. I don't even want to go there really, cause then what's the difference, right? And it needs to be a painting, not a photo. If I want a photo, I'll just go and take a photo, or do collages, or I don't know how you call those. But yeah, it's no, I don't know. It's how I like to work right now, and I don't take my word for it. You can try it, but understand that it may not work for you, or for a lot of people. But I know it really works for me, I feel so. uh
So,
yeah.
was this something that you got better at? Did you practice this kind of visualizing thing or just looking at things, or is it something you've always kind of been naturally good at?
uh, I don't know, I don't remember being like this. I remember, like, I always liked to not just, as I say, to not just look at things, but really look at things. As in, you don't just glance over things when you're out, or you're walking down the street in downtown. Or I always like to look at people and observe, small things. Like, you just go behind a person, you see his jacket, he moves, and you see the wrinkles, how they move according to his steps. And I always did that, and now it just became more intense, because now I'm always doing that. Now I'm always looking at how things react to each other. And I think we actually, I actually told you about this. There was, a few weeks ago, I was waiting for someone, uh, and I saw this homeless guy sitting down. He was really like busted. I don't know. He was looking really bad. But he had a really interesting complexion on the skin. Like, his joints on his knee areas and ankles were he was black. Like, he was a gypsy. He was black, black skin tone. But the area around his knees were white. It was like he looked like he was a zombie or something. So there I was waiting for my friend to come, and I was staring at the guy for like probably around 15 minutes, just like staring at him, because that's what I do. Maybe it's a bit. I know I was a bit afraid that he'll will walk up to me and punch me in the face, but yeah, that's pretty much what I do when I find something interesting. I just look at it until I'm sure. Okay, now it's in my head. I know if I want to paint a zombie from now on, I have this, you know, thing, the skin complexity that I can use for my drawings, and give it this like really morbid feel and whatnot. So yeah, that's pretty much my process. I just am a creeper.
Yeah,
I
that's a
start.
pretty, pretty awesome story. Um, so, okay, so I'm just trying to follow the timeline now. Okay, so you left college and then you stumbled upon conceptart.org and saw the work of Marko Djurjevic, and then you discovered Dave Raposa and his Crimson Daggers. Now, how long was it between you just start studying with this group and you're self-taught and you're looking at Bomis anatomy and all that before you got to, let's say, your first job?
Well, my first job was actually right before I left college. I immediately started working, because so I left college in college, like the second semester. Actually, no, it was still first semester, but it was about to end in February. So I went after New Year's Eve, up after having New Year's and whatever. It was the 3rd of January. I went there and asked, okay, can I freeze my year and think about it? Maybe I want to come back. And they were like, no, you can't, cause you need to be ill or something in order to do that. And I was like, oh, well, other people can do it. Why can't I? Well, it's always something special about other people, I guess. Uh, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna quit. Just give me my papers and I'm out. And they did me a bit bummed and whatnot, and I quit. And anyway, that's not the point. So so in after that, I immediately came home and started working on my portfolio. I had like 3 4 pieces, and I put them on the forums. And then I immediately got my job around probably like beginning of February. That was like my first job. I had to do 10 characters for very little money, and but it was nice. It was, I always treated those, beginner jobs as a way to learn, because I was really bad. I didn't know how to do anything. So for me, I could use the exercise. And after that, in March, I got into a 7 month project that I worked for free for a game. Uh, so yeah, I did everything that I could to get better. People say, "Oh, you should not work for free no matter what." I don't know if I agree with that. I think, if you're starting out and you have the time and you're working on your personal stuff, why not just, help someone with something? Even if you don't get anything out of it, even if it's all promises but it never turns, to anything, just, I feel it's not, why not, because you are going to be in a somewhat professional environment, and it will teach you about certain things. I was really lucky because in the for the company that I worked for, the indie company, they were really professional, and it really taught me a lot about, everything there is to know about the industry and the pipelines and all that. So yeah, that was pretty much it. I got carried away there, sorry.
Oh no, no, that's great. So from there, did it just snowball, or how did you move from one job to the next?
I never really looked for jobs. I just did my personal paintings, and I put anything that I could into my portfolio, and I waited. I wasn't in a situation where I needed money, so I only focused on, getting better. And if I had jobs, okay, I'll do the jobs. And that's how it was for pretty much the entire time until like 1 year ago or something like that. It was, you know, I never really, because I was conscious. I wanted to just get better. I didn't feel like there is any need to rush, because there wasn't any need to rush. My parents would have gladly kept me at home to study. They understood, that it has to be done, and I'm really grateful for them for being so supportive. Um, so just this year, I've started working intensively on my portfolio and being active, and trying to find jobs, and but still I haven't really applied to many companies yet. They always, I'm really lucky that, for the most part, they always contact me. So, you know I guess if you really put a lot of stuff up there, it's inevitable. It's just a matter of time that you will get noticed eventually. Just, keep at it, keep adding new stuff to your portfolio, and it will happen eventually. It may take a bit more time. If you're like me and you don't socialize as much, it may take a bit more time, but it will come. It will come.
So, did you find it was harder being in Romania to find work, or I guess not because people contacted you?
Yeah, no. The thing was, I never worked with a Romanian client ever. So I don't know how that is. I never really considered Romania. I never put Romania on the list of clients. Like, I didn't even cared about Romania. I never really wanted to have clients from Romania, because I know they would pay really, really, really bad, and they would ask a lot, because that's how the currency is here. But yeah, no, it was, I don't know. I always had like clients from outside, and the few occasions from that I got uh, offers from Romania didn't turn into anything. They were just promises. So Uh, yeah.
So I guess it really doesn't matter where you are in the world now. You could just.
Yeah, as long as you have the internet, you yeah. I think it's really stupid to just look into in your country for work. I think that's why would you do that when you have the internet? It doesn't make any sense. So just don't do it. Just make sure your portfolio is everywhere, so you increase your chances of people finding you.
So I wanted to cover how many hours you would spend drawing, maybe when you started and now, drawing or painting. Like how much time in your day does this?
It really depends on how much work I have, or like back in back right after I quit college, it wasn't really that much. It came probably like, I don't think it was more than 8 hours a day. I will mostly do my studies, try to apply it somehow, and then just be bored.
Oh,
uh,
8 hours is
a-
quite a bit for the
yeah,
start.
as I said, I wasn't really the most motivated guy. I just did things at my own pace, and I if I felt like doing a lot, I would do a lot. If I, so I never really had the real schedule, because that's one of the small reasons why I'm in. I like this, being a freelancer, because you do what you want with your time as long as you can get there, and you can meet the deadline. No one cares how much and how you organize your time. You can work this day, I can work nothing. I cannot even lift a finger, and the next day I'll have to put 16 hours in, but as long as I meet my deadline, it's okay. Now recently, like this year, it became more. I started working a lot more on a daily basis, and I had a few periods when I couldn't work for different reasons, but for the most part, especially now, I get close to a 12 hour a day. I had like last week I had like uh, hour days with 16 hours. So yeah, a lot of work. Yeah, when I have a lot of work, I put the time, because I always like to keep my clients happy, and I'm not gonna put a pencil down until I know they're happy. So uh, if they say it's okay, no, sometimes I'm not really satisfied, so I'll say, okay, you can do what you want, you can send me the money, but I'll still want to work a bit more on it, just so I feel I feel that it's better than okay. So yeah.
So those days that are the 16-hour days, pretty much you're just in front of a computer screen, right? So how do you get through that? How do you balance, life and, your
you,
art job?
you don't. I don't think you do. I don't think you can balance a social life. I don't think the social life goes into that, especially in my case. Like, okay, if I would have, let's say, a wife or a fiance or a girlfriend, staying with me, okay, you can talk with her, and you can do that. But when you don't, you just work, and you enjoy your small coffee or lunch break or dinner break, and then you go back to work. But it's not always the case. Like, I don't expect that I'm really doing this like 24/7. So, it's no. I do, I do have my relaxing time, and I actually against working too much. It only happens, as I said, it only happens when I have a lot of work, and when I have like, I don't know. Well, I guess when I have a lot of work, and that's pretty much it. It only happens then, but I always try not to get too much, because life, it's not only about work. It's about your you know a lot of other things, and a lot other things are more important than work. um so I try and find as much time for that as I can, uh so I won't have to like spend most of the time doing jobs and stuff. I don't go out as much as I would love to. I recently started to, but I used to like not go out for weeks. So yeah, it's now actually started going out more and talking with people more, all that stuff, which is, it's better. It just feels better, cuz being in the house is not always the best thing. It really can change you as a person, and when you finally get out, it becomes a nightmare. It just, you just don't feel comfortable, and I'm not sure how many people want that, not to feel comfortable when they go out. So try and balance everything out, because I think it's really important. Remember that it's not only about work. It's There are so many other things that are more important than work and money. And
All right. Well, I think that's it for this little interview. So thanks so much, Marius, for joining us. And could you let people know how they could see your work? Do you have a website or something?
yeah, I have a website that's on the works. It's mariusbota.com. uh it's not finished yet. It will probably be finished pretty soon. If not, I think uh, you, the best way to find me is probably on Facebook. I know, maybe some people say, for Facebook, but it's really like the one of the best things for an artist. It's like the best way to keep in touch with people and share stuff. So it's either my personal page on Facebook, which is let me see, Marius Bota Art, or just friend me there, or I know my blogspot, which is Marius Bota at blogspot. So that's pretty much how you can find me. It's really easy, just Google.
Yeah, so thank you again. And I'm sure people really enjoyed hearing your story.
I hope they did, and thanks for having me. It was really nice.
Yeah, it was my pleasure.